everyone. Good evening. Actually, it is 7:55 Eastern Daylight Time. My name is Rich Suggs, and I am broadcasting on KDWRadio.com. And we just got a bucket of information that we need to get out. And I've talked to a bunch of people, and they're not able to still in lots of parts of Charlotte County and also Sarasota, especially the Inglewood, Northport, Venice area, still do not have power. And so we're hoping that this can come out. And if you're listening on KDWRadio.com and you have friends in the area, you can also text. Cell phone is still kind of spotty in areas. Northport sometimes never had really great cell phone service. And with this situation, it is still a very scary situation. So we're finally getting some kind of notification and notoriety. Well, and notoriety is the wrong word, but at least some attention being paid to Northport and Port Charlotte and these areas because whatever it is, I won't stay hard on the local media, but we're 5 days into this, and they're just realizing that parts of Port Charlotte and parts of Northport are damaged. So I have got Marie LaBrosse. If you happen to be able to get onto Facebook, we are doing a StreamYard broadcast. John Rawlings.
He'll be joining us. He just called me. So
Okay.
he'll be joining us. Yes.
He's going to be joining in on us, and we're just going to try to give you as much information that is verifiable. We're not taking things off of Facebook just because somebody posted it. We spent most of the weekend swearing up and down that I-75 bridges had failed when that was not true. Now, I-75 had been shut down, but so many people notified me and said, hey, Rich, has the 75 bridge actually collapsed? Well, that's just a product of a lot of rumors, and I was still dispelling those rumors today because, again, you might say, well, why don't they just get out? There's lots of places in Northport that are not capable of being traveled. There are still... especially anywhere along the Myakka River, all of those locations that are being built out in the West Villages area, the Welland Park area, and along the newly constructed portions of River Road, they are underwater. I mean, literally underwater. They cannot get in and out.
Hey,
So one of the things,
Rich.
what's that?
Yeah, take a look at us because nobody on the radio can see you and we can.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Yeah, you're right.
I'm Marie LaBrosse. I'm one of the show hosts and sit on the board of directors along with Rich. And John Rawlings is here with us. He's actually driving, and it's pitch black, it looks like. Isn't it, John, out there? John, can you hear us?
Give me about 5 minutes.
Okay.
Right.
I'll take you and put you someplace. I don't know where I'm going to put you.
That's fine.
Okay.
But, one of the things that we are finding out and one of the things we're going to discuss, there are places in Northport that you can get out and get around. And so you're in need of knowledge of where you can get gas, where you can get things, where are distribution areas that FEMA is setting up or the Corps of Engineer or whoever to provide you with the services and the food and ice that you need to survive. But let's not forget, people, there's thousands, and I do mean thousands of people that are still stuck in their house and they can't get out. And now we're 5 days into this. I mean, there are parts of Northport that they haven't been able to get to yet. And now I just had a report from a good friend of ours out in the not Tomoka Estates, but the Northport Estates area that said they finally came and delivered some water to them. And so the moat, they call it their moat because it's water all the way around their house, is finally coming down. They still got plenty of food. They have a generator, but they did not have any water because their water is cut off. And so they were in need of water. There's thousands of people in the Southwest Florida area that are having that same situation. Let's not forget our good friends over in Arcadia. There's very few unpassable, or I should say, there are very few passable roads in DeSoto County. And so whenever you tell people, well, just come to this area, and Marie's got a list of places that you're going to be able to get FEMA help, you're going to be able to get food, you're going to get water, you're going to be able to probably MREs, meals ready to eat kind of rations. But if for the people that aren't able to get out of their neighborhoods, we still have this kind of situation here in Northport. And so I don't want people to say, well, good, they're getting all they need. No, they're not. Not everyone. John Rawlings is out trying to help people. This man's working.
He's insane. John is insane in Soda. Is RJ Malloy, our station manager. We'll be talking about that in a little bit of time, but I do want to talk about one of our show hosts, Gail West, because she lived out in the Arcadia area, and she had to be rescued by airboat. I talked to her earlier today, and what had happened was the Peace River, if anybody knows, the Peace River is overflowing as Rich kills us here and takes a drink of his coffee. But it's
not adult beverage, I can guarantee you that.
And she says she's never had this happen before. The water would come up to the driveway, but never any farther. Well, she had water coming up to the height of the bed. And her husband just got out of rehab because he had some health issues. So they had to be rescued by airboat. And it took a while to get her husband into the airboat because you have to climb into it. They had 4 cats, and they had to take the cats with them. She had them in carriers, and they got out, and I had to put her husband in a high truck. And
right.
If you know anything about us seniors, some of us have trouble getting up into high things. We need like ladders and people pushing us up there. And they had to do that with
cranes, Marie.
Yeah, they call cranes. Yeah, those power lifts. And what had happened is they ended up going to the Laurel Road Sarasota Memorial, left him in the truck because they didn't want to take him out. It took that 3 guys to get him in. And when they decided what was wrong with him, they ended up sending him to the Sarasota Memorial up in Sarasota. So he's actually in there. And when I talked to her this evening, she said she was just grateful to be able to be out of there. And her family has already talked to her daughter and grandkids, said, you got to move out of there. You need to move by civilization where people can go. And Rich, let's talk about this with the flooding, because I've lived here 35 years and you've lived here how long?
A little over 10.
Right. But with the flooding, and when I was talking with Gail, she's been here since the 70s, and that was at her house. We have never, ever seen anything like this in the time that we've lived here. I believe she's been here 40 some years, and people that have lived here all their lives, there's no way. And when I hear on some of the news channels, and I have to make a disclaimer now too.
Right.
I was home through this. I was home through Charlie too. When we went through this, and I took video, and luckily after Hurricane Charlie, we got a metal roof on our house and our garage. And also we got hurricane windows along with, and they're expensive. So some of our windows, we have the hurricane shutters. It was less expensive to do that.
Right.
When we did that, that actually saved us. We just lost some soffit, and all of our fence, of course, blew down. Oh, look who's there. John Rawlings. Fix your camera so we can see you better.
I'll do that.
Yeah, you've got a little bit of a hazy look to yourself there, mister.
Oh, he's been running around. He's in the time.
He's always got that really black background. I can't make my RV that black back here. So.
Well,
So,
yeah,
John,
the lights. Yeah.
yes.
So,
You're boots on the ground.
yeah. Well, before you guys get off track, and it's all about me. Kissimmee, I'm up in Kissimmee now because I want to do a shout out to RCI in any case anybody that owns timeshare. And you know, I had a problem with Ivan when we had Irma when we escaped. At that time, we were looking for a place to stay, and the nearest place was Biloxi when we left the state for that one. But going back to this one, I called RCI on Friday, and they got us a place starting Saturday, but we couldn't get out because I-75, US 41 and 17 were flooded. That we couldn't get past that to get up there. But we left yesterday, and we got up here. And John Rawlings, I have electricity. I have, I already had running water. We were never out at our home. But one of the things I want to talk to people about is I use a BiPAP, and I was having trouble breathing. And Rich and I were talking about some of the deaths have been because of medical reasons that people can't, they need their oxygen. And without electricity, us older people, and I hate to say it, but I'm in that senior citizen. Rich, you are too, aren't you?
I am a senior citizen.
Yeah.
I are a senior citizen.
And John Rawlings said, not me. I'm still in my 50s. I'm still in my 50s. So he's
looking like he's about 80 today because he's had like 5 days of no rest.
I have. I literally have been out there. I was exhausted this morning. I will promise you. I was exhausted this morning. I started my day doing real estate and working with friends and figuring out how much damage was done to their homes. And as the morning progressed, I ended up talking with Lyman out in the Blue Ridge area. I saw the water receding. We put the drone up in the air. We've got pictures of that, and we know that it's the water between last night at around 8 o'clock to about 9:30 this morning. I will tell you that Blue Ridge area had a massive water receding that happened. Massive. I tell you, massive. Those front houses were 4 inches of water. I don't even want to talk about the back houses in the Blue Ridge area and back by McKibben Park. Okay. That whole area back there, we're going to have to really pay attention to the needs of those people back there because a lot of them have lost everything. And the water and the black mold. So one of the things I will tell you is that, and I'm going to get my brother-in-law in here shortly, I hope, but there's a mixture. If you can get on the internet, there is a mixture of Dawn liquid and water that you can spray your walls. And if you spray your walls with that mixture, it's a perfect mixture for no black mold growth. Okay, so you don't have to use bleach. Everybody's running out and buying bleach because that's what they're telling you. But if you can get this mixture, and I know Marie is fantastic at multitasking and she's looking for it now. But if you can get that mixture and you can spray that on your walls, that's part of a restoration that my brother-in-law learned. And I'm going to show you my guest that just walked in.
Oh, yeah.
My guest is in the house, but here's the thing: black mold is going to be a huge issue if you don't get your house dried out. So don't shut your windows up. Don't think you got to be safe tonight. Honest to God, you've got to get that airflow through your home. It's got to be consistent all night long, all day long. You've got to get it dried out. You also have to be prepared. Do you know what the mixture is for the?
It's fairly rich, like at least 2 parts water, 1 part Dawn. If you soak the walls,
Step in.
If you mix 2 parts water and 1 part Dawn, the pH raises to in such a way that mold doesn't grow.
Are you hearing him loud enough, Murray?
Yes.
I'm hearing you guys fine. I'm trying to find it with Don. They're giving me other suggestions, so I'm trying to find.
Any dishwashing liquid that you have there, Dawn is just one that we're talking about. But if they're talking about dishwashing liquid, I'm sure it's the chemical makeup.
Can I ask your brother-in-law a question? And I know I don't want to be too far off the subject here, but I'm in an RV and we have things called gray tanks and black tanks, and we need to keep those clean. And kind of the same thing. If you don't take care of them, you will start getting mold and all that stuff, and it really stinks. And somebody we saw, I think, that if you use Calgon, so like the Calgon take me away kind of thing, that acts as a surfactant. And if you spray it on the walls of your gray tank or whatever, it doesn't allow those things to adhere to your walls of your tank. And I'm wondering, I don't know that that's a better deal than what you're saying, but I think that basically that Dawn detergent is acting like a surfactant, so it won't allow things to adhere to that wall.
Well, and I found what you guys are talking about. For a natural solution for getting rid of black mold, combine 1 part baking soda with 5 parts distilled white vinegar and 5 parts water in a spray bottle. You can use a chemical-based mold and mildew remover, all-purpose cleaners, or bleach or dish soap. So that's where your dish soap comes in, that you can use it. And to alternate, it's saying here to do one and then do another, because with a chemical interaction, that'll work.
I think the biggest point they're trying to make is don't just sit there and say, "Oh, it'll take care of itself," or I am insured. So because it's the difference between being in your house in a couple of weeks and being in your house once they get all the crap taken out. So
and they have grapefruit seed extract here to use with a combination. So in case any people out there are wondering about this, there are a lot of ways to find out what to do without having to kill yourself with some of the chemicals that are out there. There are natural things.
A little context to that recipe. I worked with a gentleman that did flood abatement.
Come closer to the mic.
Yeah.
Where's the mic?
Right here.
Just right there.
Just to add a little context, I used to work with a gentleman that did flood abatement. And after the flood, they'd cut the drywall up to the wet line, and then they would spray that formula inside the wall and allow it to dry. And then you could drywall over it and be assured that mold wouldn't grow inside the wall. It's a formula that you're going to leave there. You're not washing the wall. You're providing a surface that isn't going to allow the mold to grow.
There you go. Yeah, that's probably important because, I mean, you typically have some kind of, insulation or some things behind that wall. And if that gets wet and you don't replace that,
they're not going to, if you get drywall damage, first off, you're going to have a wicking effect. Okay. So let's say it is Joe. Joe's got wicking effect right now. We were in Joe's house. Joe was there today. You got four inches of water throughout. So that over the next couple days, that wicking effect will probably take him to maybe 3 or 4 feet up his wall. So depending on the water line and where that goes, they're going to cut that material out. They're going to the exterior wall. They're going to take that insulation out. They're going to spray what Eric was explaining, or they're going to spray bleach, okay, a mixture, and they're going to kill the bacteria or the black mold that's there, or any mold that's there. They're going to leave it. They're going to repack in brand new insulation, and they're going to put it back, and then you're going to seal it. The main thing to know right now is if you can get fans going in your house, which you have to have electric. I understand that. But if you can get the fans going in your house and you can get it dried out as fast as you can, that's what they do with restoration. They actually bring in these huge fans. And right now, they have a huge amount of fans at Home Depot that are powerful. They're not your ceiling. They're not your typical fan that you put in your bedroom at night and kind of angle at you. It's a drying, vac drying effect. Okay. So they're drying carpets, they're drying walls, they're doing everything. And it's not one or two. Believe it or not, when a restoration takes place, which I've already dealt with that on a closing. Okay. And it was a flood within a house. So I'll give some contents there. It's that the hose broke the night before the closing. The hose broke on the toilet. It ran all night long inside the home. So it wasn't a flood except inside the house. Right. Well, it destroyed 3 rooms and a kitchen because it went into the kitchen and got into the cabinets, and particle board expands and then it deteriorates. Okay. And there's no drying that out. It just expands and swells. Everybody knows that. Okay.
I want to, if I could interject something, and all this is really good, but for people that are listening to this, please don't do anything until you start taking pictures. Because I contacted my insurance agent today, or my insurance company, and I put in a claim because I had some minor damage at the house, roof shingles. Take a picture of every single thing that is damaged. Do not fix anything until you've taken pictures of the original damage. If you've got a phone, you've got a camera. Okay. Because if you go and you start doing things and you are not documenting, they won't cover it. And she told me they will not cover it. You might have damaged it more than what the storm did. So take pictures. If you repair anything, take pictures and keep all your receipts and all your records and all your documentation.
And technically, everybody right now that has a home should be videoing everything in your house, whether it's damaged or not. You still want to make sure that you have a way to document everything. Now, going back to what I was saying, we weren't talking about the actual cutting away of anything. The process you want to do in your home right now is to dry it out so you can live there and you don't have to start smelling the different smells that happen, because our cabinets are made up of different chemical base. The flooring, the carpets, there's just different chemicals that are there and that react with water. Okay. And then you have mold, you have wet carpet. The odds of you getting saturated wet carpet to dry out so that the pad gets thoroughly dried and everything else, slim and none. Take your picture, cut your carpet down, get it in rolls, and get it out of the house and let that concrete dry. Because truthfully, you could live on concrete floors for 6 months until you got floors in your house, but you can't live in there if you don't get that smell out. And we're doing that tomorrow in the house. Eric's going to go over and start cutting the carpet out because it's saturated. Okay. Now it's not every room. If not every room's not wet, you don't have to do that. Okay. So you're picking the damaged room, and what you want to do is set these fans up, or set a fan up to at least start moving air in the room and start drying out anything that's there. That just helps. It's not the fix-all. The fix-all is to actually hire a professional and have them come in, give you an estimate, work that out, and be very cautious. Because tonight, what we were doing and why I was delayed is we were actually working with a customer / friend of mine, because he had signed with what he said was a roofing company. So I'm not gonna throw the guy under the bus. I'm not gonna throw the company under the bus. But what I'd like to do is educate you on exactly what's happening right now, because it just did. We know for a fact he signed the contract. There's two parts to an agreement. One, that you will pay, and the insurance will pay. And if the insurance doesn't cover it, you're stuck paying. The second part of that is you're signing over your rights to your insurance. So let's talk and break that down for a second, because if we're talking about restoring your home and you have money in your pocket, you're not going to give the contractor the money ahead of time. But if you sign that document, you're giving that contractor all negotiation rights without you involved with your insurance company. And guess what happens if you have something go wrong? You don't have a say. It's the insurance company and the person you signed your rights over to. So I would really, really, really think hard before you sign anything. Please make sure that you're reading everything you're signing. They're small paragraphs. They're short. These guys are happy. They're smiling. They're your best friend. They're there for you. They're contractors. They're not working for the roofing companies. Fact, they're not working for the roofing companies. Now, I'm going to step back for a second, and I want you to come up and I want you to tell people exactly why we now know what we saw on the roof. And I want you to tell them what happened.
On our way there, we were discussing the variations in quality of workmanship when it came to drying in a roof after damage.
And he's just learning this today, by the way. But go ahead.
So when we got to this gentleman's house, I decided I'd take the drone up and take a look at the way that his roof was dried in, and then compare that to some of the other roofs in the neighborhood. When I got up there, I realized that the guy had put the tar paper, roof paper, whatever it is, on backwards. He started at the top and worked towards the bottom. So every seam was exposed, and any water that hit the roof would end up in the building. It was being directed into the building. John contacted the guy, had him come back out, and we had a little conversation with him, and he agreed to void the contract and remove his paper.
Let's go back, though. What did you do when he got there? You actually climbed up the ladder. You were my eyes above the house with the drone, but you were my eyes on the roof as he went up to assess. And then what did you do?
Basically, I explained to the contractor that when you put that kind of paper on a house, you would start at the top so you didn't collect the water and put it in the house.
Right.
He also did
Hold on, Rich. Hold on.
He also did a shoddy job of covering up the areas that a person that was educated in that particular trade would have done properly.
Because he left exposed wood, okay? When he climbed back down the ladder, it was the verbiage. I'm sorry about the poor workmanship. I'm not a roofer. I don't have a roofing crew. He was a sales guy in a roofer's truck who is a general contractor who is sending that work out, one to the roofer, and then he's going to be your general contractor for everything that happened inside your home. So the scary part is when you sign that document and he contacts your insurance company, you are no longer in power. You have zero power. He gets paid via insurance company, and you have no say in the quality of work because his customer is no longer you. His customer is the insurance company.
I would also say anyone that comes up to you and wants to step foot on your property to do any work one, should be licensed contractor, but two, any people, including himself, should have either a exclusion from workers' comp or they have workers' comp insurance. Because if you have them on your property and they get hurt and they do not have either an exemption or workers' comp, you are now responsible for their injuries. So make sure, and that's happened a lot. So please make sure if anyone, and I don't care if it's his laborer, has workers' compensation or they prove to you they're exempt from workers' compensation. At that point, you're not responsible. Now, I just wanted to say one thing, because Marie mentioned this before you came on, John. Typically, we're doing 1 hour shows. How much time do we have left on StreamYard?
Oh, we can go as long as we want.
Oh, I thought you said an hour.
No. A StreamYard. Facebook actually changed. They used to be only 4 hours for a stretch.
That's fine. I don't want to waste our time on that. So, I know you have a lot of things that you were saying that were places that people could go get help. FEMA help, food and all that kind of thing.
Right. And I was trying to bring them back up. Before we go into that, our station manager, RJ Malloy, is a former, he's a retired lawyer, and he actually helps people with a lot of different things besides just running the station. And we're on an all-volunteer radio station. He wanted me to get this message out to the people out there. There is a way for you to go and apply for FEMA. And he, as a service to everybody, has done almost 230 applications for people. And he will be, not tomorrow, but he will be at the El Jobim Depot, which is in El Jobim, and it's actually the Bean. And you'll have to do it random. There's no phone number to call. You're just going to have to show up there. But any of you that are having problems filling out the paperwork, and I will see, let me see, I have the other thing here. So I will bring it up on the screen how you can do it on your own. You just go to FEMA.gov disaster/Hurricane Ian resources. And let me bring this up while you guys are talking there. And when we were talking about people losing things, Gail, I was saying about Gail West, one of our show hosts, they had to rescue her and her husband and their 4 cats by airboat over in Arcadia. She lost her home. She lost their 2 vehicles, and she's just grateful to be alive. And that you're going to see that with a lot of people. They're just grateful that they didn't lose their lives. Because let's talk about that, young men here. Were we expecting, I've been through Charlie. I don't think you guys were, but you were through Irma. Were you through Charlie too, John?
Yep.
Okay.
I was up in Tampa area, so I inadvertently went through it.
So when we went through that, we thought, nothing can be worse than that. EM was worse.
By definite. I mean, they've had posts. I don't know since most of you people have not had internet and being able to see Facebook, they actually had a post that showed the eye of Ian with the entire Charlie inside the eye, and they superimposed it. The entire storm of Charlie could fit in the eye of Ian.
Yeah.
That should tell you something.
Here, I'm going to bring up on the screen here for how to apply for FEMA. If you want to do it on your own, you do not need to go to any place. But here again, how many people are without flood insurance? And if you know anything about insurances, and I know, John, you work in the real estate industry, so you do know about this, that these people are not covered by their homeowner's insurance. They are SOL, right?
It's cash. There are some programs out there, though. and I know that there's FEMA assistance along the way, but keep in mind there are some loans out there that are popping up, and I want to once again caution people. Make sure that if you've had a realtor in the past, contact your realtor and find a reputable lender that has resources for that. Make sure that you're getting with somebody that it's not fly by night. Do not stroke anybody a check. Do not give them a credit card. There is no reason for you to do any of those things. You are in a situation right now where if you have zero insurance, you need to slow your roll, slow down. I know you want speed. First things first. The first step on getting your house back to safe, sound, and secure is make sure no water entry. So get your roof waterproofed in. If they got tarp paper, fine. If they've got a tarp, they can tarp your house, fine. Just make sure they do it correctly, okay? Truthfully, you want a reputable company to do that, a reputable roofer, one that is certified, one that has insurances to cover themselves, and get that done first. Then you work your way to your windows. You get your windows secure, okay? And safe, sound, and secure means that they're lockable and everything's safe, sound, and secure inside, and that you have no water intrusion. So once you get there, you can live in that house for a long time, as long as you have water and electric. You dry it out, get things dried out, and then you work on getting your contractors in and your bids, okay? Once again, you're dealing with nothing but the most reputable people out there. If they're coming in from out of state and they got a deal for you, remember, your warranty travels with them wherever they end up being again, and good luck finding them, okay? So keep that in mind. If you want to have somebody local do your stuff, my first thing would be, if you don't know anyone in the field, contact your local Chamber of Commerce. Get their information, get the guys that have been part of the group. If they can't assist because they're overloaded, I will promise you they will have someone they will refer you to. They are not here to hurt the local community. They're here to assist you. The Chamber of Commerce has a lot of links and a lot of connections. And my first thing, if you are out there and confused, would be to seek help in the most reasonable way that you can. And the Chamber of Commerce has that data, has that information. They have all the cards in their offices. All you got to do is walk in the door and say, do you have a roofer? Do you have a drywaller that's been part of the chamber? They're going to help you out. Make that phone call and then move on. And once you get some guidance from them, then you can move on to the next level. You want to go ahead.
And your building industry association, both Sarasota and Charlotte County Charlotte County is Charlotte DeSoto Building Industry Association. And if you hear the word DeSoto, it's for Charlotte and DeSoto. And I was a member of them when we had our well drilling business. And let me tell you, they are straight shooters. They will take care of you. They're a family. And they, if there's any issues, you just report it to the association and they handle it normally for you, as long as it's something that was the other person's fault and stuff, because there's always a mutual thing there. And then in Sarasota, they have the Sarasota Buildings Industry Association there. And we have, truthfully, John and Rich, here in this area, we have presidents of the local buildings association for the state. In fact, one of the county commissioners, and oh geez, I'm having a brain fog right now, who is president of the CDBIA, was a president of the state of Florida's association. And I am just having a brain freeze right now. But anyhow, there's a lot
Carolyn
of
Hoff?
who?
Carolyn Hoff?
No, it's a guy. It's
Okay.
and he has his own building. Truex, Bill Truex. I can't believe I was having a brain freeze there. Bill Truex is actually a county commissioner in Charlotte County, but he also owns Truex Construction. And he was also the president of the association at state level, too.
I'd also like to just point out back in Irma, and it's just it's an illustration of how long it could take. So you got to understand, from Marco Island or maybe Everglades City all the way to past Venice, got heavy hit with this just on the coast. And then it went inland all the way out to, Brevard County. So you're going to have a massive need for these kind of building resources. I don't care if it's shingles. I don't care if it's, whatever. And during Irma, even though a lot of people didn't sustain the type of damage that we're seeing now, people would cut their screens on their pools cages because they said, the screens would act as a sail and might maybe fail your cage. Well, the problem was so many people did that after Irma, and we're talking, millions. They had a hard time getting the screen, and believe it or not, I'm a good friend with an aluminum plus pool cage guy, and he said it was upwards of 2 years before everybody got covered just with the pool screen. So don't think it's going to happen next week. Don't think it's going to happen. So you need to be patient. And I know, just like John said, you're anxious to get back into your house and do everything you need to do. Listen, there's a lot of destruction out there, and it might be 2 years before you're going to get taken care of. That doesn't give you, it gives you the right, but it's probably not a good decision to go and hire somebody that's fly-by-nighter that comes in and, like he says, takes your money and the warranty and heads back out.
John and Rich too. I didn't know the total destruction because, like many of the people out there, we were isolated with getting communication. I did have a weather radio that I could tune in to different radio stations that actually combined because they lost all their ways of communication out there. I did not realize how bad the storm was, how many people it affected. I knew what happened in my neighborhood. I know that I had to come up to Northport, go up to Northport even to get cell service. And looking at the roads that were flooded, I have a sister-in-law in Northport. We can't even get to her because she's flooded. She's kind of like in an island of flooding, and we never thought it would ever be this bad. Now, John, you have had electricity for most of this time, and also, did you have internet? Well, you must have because you're on the internet with us right now.
So, truthfully, I at our location, we're in the newer part of Northport, so most of our wires are underground. They have been working on a lot of this across our whole city. Okay. So I want to interject a little bit into the combination of Port Charlotte because of Hurricane Charlie. Most of Port Charlotte was then put underground too. And they because of all the damage there, they had to rebuild their infrastructure, and they're doing a great job in the Charlotte County area in doing that. Northport was in the process of doing that. And ideal situation when you have hurricane season, most cities up north deal with blizzards. All right. But they don't have a blizzard season. They just have winter. Okay. We have a season for a specific thing. It's called hurricanes. And sometimes we get blessed, and this time we did not. The blessing is, and I'm saying this to you loud and clear, is that the fact that I was boots on the ground first off, I've been out every day because I am part of the media and we didn't have coverage. The pictures that my brother-in-law has been taking with drones, we've been getting out. The whole thing is, when people have a disaster in the size and scope that we're in right now, it's the whole state that is having an issue, the whole entire state. And you know, the fact that my electric wasn't out and the fact that my electric came back on within 12 hours is a blessing, because I was able to get back on the air. Rich has been doing a phenomenal job because he was able to keep us live and keep information flowing that he could find out. He absolutely was like a lifesaver, because for 12 hours, I couldn't boot us up. And Rich was really the one who was our spokesman for the whole situation. And then I got back on, and then he was gracious enough, to actually do part of the show for me because of the connections we had. But then, and I'm just telling you, the emotion of Charlie in comparison to this.
Guys, it was over literally from beginning to end in Charlie in an hour.
Yeah.
You literally did not feel any wind till you did not feel any wind. I mean, maybe 10 or 15 miles an hour in an hour. It lasted in Northport because Northport never actually got into the eye of the storm. Northport stayed in the eye wall for approximately 8 hours.
Yeah.
I'm talking about 130 to 150 mile an hour winds. And you got to understand, it's not like a tornado, because yes, tornadoes scare the living you know what out of people. But guess what? It's over in about 15 minutes, right? These people that were in Northport huddled down in their bathrooms, huddled down into wherever. We don't have basements in Florida. So it's not like they could go, or we don't have places where we can go and dig out and do an underground bunker. These people were in inside interior hallways for 8 to 10 hours, hearing the worst sounds they could imagine, and there was no end to it. And you got to understand, I'm up here in the North Carolina mountains, and I'm hearing my granddaughter, and I'm here before they lost power, and they were fearing for their life for that amount of time. And John heard those noises and then leapt into, him and his brother leapt into recovery and rescue mode immediately after. That was 5 days ago, and they haven't stopped yet. I'm here in North Carolina. I'm afraid that I'm gonna have 34 degrees tomorrow morning. That's my worry.
In an RV.
My RV's not set up at 34 degrees. But you got to understand, 8 to 10 hours of 120 to 150 mile an hour winds. I think I would have probably pooped my britches and cried to my mama.
I didn't do that, but I was, it was kind of weird because everybody reacts a little bit differently. And because we felt safer because we had our metal roof and we had a hurricane protection on our windows with windows and the right kind of windows and hurricane shutters. And we sat there and we watched it, and I ended up filming some of it. I wasn't as afraid, and I don't know if it's my age. Like, okay, if I'm going to die, I'm going to die. I may as well go out with Ian. You and I, we can go out there. But I wanted to actually segue into another topic here. I talked with somebody from FP&L today, and I want to explain to people. I saw that. Hi, Bill Mize. one of the people that had played at Common Grounds a couple of times. I just want to say, hi, I'm sending positive vibes down your way and hope everyone is okay. And just to tell you, at the radio station, we did get flooding there. But going back to what I was talking about, FP&L, actually, how you find out when you're going to get your power restored. And I know that Sarasota County and Charlotte County, most of Charlotte County, there's a few places, just like Babcock Ranch, they have their own solar panels and that. And I understand they did not have a downtime on theirs. So I want to explain to you how you do this. You go to FP&L and put in fpl.com/storm. Again, fpl.com/storm, and we'll put it in the comments so you can see that. If you can see the page here, you don't want to report your outage because they already know that you're out. So go into this place. There's a place called Check Your Status. Click on that, and then what happens is it'll come up, and it is they're actually ahead of schedule. FP&L is, from what I understand, above. And actually, they have my address in there because I already punched it in. But it'll ask you to put your phone number in there. And then you can click on it. And it did. Okay. It did tell me that it's going to be at 11:59 by Friday, 11:59, then mine will be restored. And that's the way you do end up doing that. That you're checking that. Oh, have you tried? Well, actually, John, you have yours, but any of your friends out there that are looking, just go and click on here, and they have an estimate. And I was told that they're ahead of schedule. So even if it says that time, it might be earlier than that.
Hey, John, I want to take you back real quick before we go in. I think we had this conversation like Saturday night, and I told you what we were hearing up here because obviously I have all the internet and capabilities of seeing anything. And I said, well, John, we should go on and give some people some hope that the electricity, because the FP&L CEO said everybody that is an FPL customer will be online by the end of this night. And this was Saturday. And he said, John said, and I'll have to defer to him because he was right here. He said, Rich, I'm not going to give these people false hope. Those people have not seen Northport.
Truthfully, the fact that we had the 9th of October now projected to be 95% on for Charlotte County and Sarasota County has been moved up to the 7th. And truthfully, I've been to out in Rotunda. I just left there this evening. The Rotunda area, I'm going to tell you, the amount of work that's going in from Arkansas and different states out there right now. I drove the circle and looked at everything. I got to tell you, I'm giving you guys some hope today. And here's what I'm going to project. They're telling you you're going to have electric by Friday. I think you're going to have it within 48 hours, possibly within 24. The work crews are absolutely phenomenal. We assessed that damage, and they were moving right along. And they're going. What happens is you're talking about a group of guys who are coming in from out of state. Okay. And now we're telling them to go fix our lines. Okay. They've never been here before. This is their first time looking at the grid. So they have to go into neighborhoods and they have to say to people who are standing outside, do you have electric? If they say yes, they move on to the next little spot. Do you have electric? No. Then they start at that pole and they kind of work their way back. And they I don't know if people truly understand what was happening on Saturday when we had this conversation. And when I told Rich there's no possible way, I was adamant about that then, because the
Said,
damage,
no way, Rich, we're not doing that.
no, and the damage that was there, we had boots on the ground from assessment. They were actually going around and they were numbering the poles. So they were documenting where they needed the most heavy equipment first. That was the first wave. The second wave was to get the tree guys in and get the trees cleared. The third wave is to go in and get everything hooked up and get everything upright. Okay, we didn't see, and I'm telling you, this is why I felt as strong as I did, Rich, is that when we were talking, there were no trucks here.
Yeah.
Yesterday, I'm going to promise you, yesterday I saw an amazing effort put forth. And I'm going to tell you, it was timing. The timing was perfect. I saw those guys outnumbering the polls. They're telling me exactly how it's going to go. And it has gone like butter. We are not the only community that these guys are doing it in. We're pulling resources from all over the nation, and we're asking them to come into our area, assess it, not understand it, know what they're doing, but learn our system, and yet get everybody online by Friday? Seriously. Yeah. I'm not even talking about me. The fact that we had major disaster times 3. And that's what people need. I read a post on Facebook, and I got to say this, and because it angers me, okay, beyond belief.
I know what you're going to
When
say.
you start talking about the lack of care and the lack of commitment by our leaders, I'm going to tell you right now, you need to shut it down. If you need my number to talk to me, call me. I've got more documentation to show you than you'll ever believe. If you don't think that we're not putting in a full effort, and I'm not talking about just leadership, I'm talking about the fact that we've got leaders who are fighting for us, who are designing this layout of a massive helpline to our community. There's no one forgotten. There's no economic line being drawn. There's no racist thing going on. And you need to shut it down, keep your mouth shut, and get a positive attitude. Because what we need right now is we need Northport proud, Port Charlotte proud, Naples proud.
Florida proud.
Florida pride. Okay? Start growing up and start getting your attitude adjusted. If this doesn't shake your world, freaking take a ride with me in my truck. That's as serious I am right now, because I'm at a breaking point when it comes to listening to your whiny baby bullcrap. Understand?
I will tell you,
people are committed,
right,
and they're doing a great job. And learn to say thank you. That's all I'm going to say.
Well, and you said a mouthful, because I will tell you, it is the political season. We have a national election in about a month, and people hate the thought that whoever's in power, doesn't matter which side you're on, the ones that are in power might get a good check mark by their name. Well, let me tell you something. It is what it is, and our leaders. I mean, I know from our city leaders, they're not resting. I mean, we have people, the city manager, we have the police chief, we have the fire chief, we have everybody at attention, and have been for 5 days. And that's the thing you got to understand. I just read a post where we have literally had some of our dispatchers at police and fire that have been on since the storm. I mean, literally since the storm.
Nonstop.
And they are literally getting, giving somebody's coming from other areas to give them a break. I mean, you can only push a human body so much. And for them not to turn around and, that one Lee County sheriff sit there and said, if you're out there looting, you'll be taken out of the house. Now that's out of frustration, because why are people doing this kind of stuff? It's not like everybody in your community isn't being affected by this. But unfortunately, every time something like this happens, you're going to have contractors coming in doing shoddy jobs. You're going to have the criminals coming in to loot. You're going to have the scammers coming in to do whatever the scammers do. So I wish this was not happening to you guys, because I've had such bad survivor's guilt. It is unbelievable. And I haven't had anything to complain about. My house is not very hard damaged. And yet we have people in our community, in our state, in our counties that are working there, what's off, men and women. I mean, I know he said guys coming down here. I've seen female line workers coming down here. It is everybody of every political, every socioeconomic, every daggone racial component coming down here to help, and helping every economic, every socioeconomic, and every political person here. So that's what makes America great. And we have to start thinking, I mean, maybe that's what unifies some people here in this country, is that, hey, we can have differences, but guess what? And I promised Marie I wouldn't talk politics tonight.
But that's okay. I wanted to also let people know that you can call 1-800-451-1954 for free disaster cleanup assistance, and it'll be helping with tree removal, tarping your roofs, and debris removal. And I called there today, and the reason I did for our debris removal is because my husband has AFib. And he also has a bad hip. And physically, I just went through breast cancer, and I'm still suffering from some of the radiation effects. And I'm a gimp. I used to be a very strong woman. I can't do some of the physical things anymore, and we need help. And I'm not too proud to admit that we need help. And when you're talking about all these things, my husband got angry today because he did read. I'll put it up there, Alicia. He really got angry because of what people were posting. He said, I can't believe these people, they're posting that, oh, so-and-so got power down the block, why don't I? They don't understand how the grid works, how you may have a different grid, that you're on a different grid than your neighbor is, how that works, and give them a break. Why aren't you out there helping? If you possibly can, somebody else out there, pay it forward. If somebody's helping you, if you have the ability, help people, right, John?
Yes, and I'm going to add two things in, and the first part's going to come from me, and it's the fact that people also need to be aware that if you're in a flooded area and you think you're going to get your power turned on, think about that for a second.
Yeah, those two don't mix.
They don't mix, all right? They can't go in. They can't fix trees. They can't do anything. And I'm going to go back for a second because my brother-in-law, who's sitting behind me, showed up. What time on the day after? About noon, the day after the storm, okay? So, we talk about our community. We talk about these scenarios. Can you tell where are you from?
Ohio.
He came down from Ohio. What you have been with me nonstop.
IO.
Yep. So nonstop doing drone shots, watching me talk with people. You've been talking to people. Explain what you've seen as far as the outpouring of help that's coming in, and describe it from an outsider point of view.
It's Northport seems like a suburb, but with the community of a country neighborhood, it's really surprising to see the way that people are helping each other and trying to do their best to get along in a rough situation. It's all kinds of people helping people. The first day that we showed up, we went to the Sumter and Lady Slipper area to rescue a gentleman. And when we got there, there was a guy that didn't know anybody in the neighborhood rescuing people. Today, we went to the same neighborhood to try to recover some items so that gentleman could kind of pick up his life. He can't go back to his house right now, but
Can't get his car.
he can't get his car, but he needed a few things. He needed some clothes. He needed some work boots so he could start making some money. We got there with the intention of kayaking back there. We met a really nice gentleman named Blake Walker. He had a monster truck, not a regular lifted truck like you see driving down the street. This guy had a legitimate monster truck. The tires were, chest high, and then the truck was after the tires. He drove
That's
back
like every other person in the world down here. So,
this was a step above. But he drove this gentleman back there into the neighborhood and waited for him to collect some of his belongings and then gave him a ride out.
Now wait, I got to tell you,
we've got footage of this.
We do, but what happened twice? The first turn he made, what he run into?
He encountered the National Guard
In their big trucks.
Yeah.
So what was the second thing he ran into?
The second thing he ran into looked like about an 80-foot cedar laying across the road.
Ooh.
This guy jumps out of his truck with a battery-powered sawzall and starts chopping this tree into little pieces to get this gentleman to his house. He doesn't even know him.
Doesn't know his name.
He couldn't get it whittled down enough. So he went back to his truck. He put the saw away. He got out probably a 50-foot long strap, strapped that truck to the tree and pulled that tree out of the road, and then took that gentleman to his house. And like I said, he didn't know him.
So I'm going to go back to the emotion part for a second.
Credit to this gentleman.
Big time. Huge. And we're going to send
Blake Walker.
Blake Walker was a hero today. Because I was telling you about the emotion of what happens. That guy is a friend of mine that we saved the first day. He's been at my house ever since. There's been people coming in and out. I know there are people out there doing the same. They're showering, they're eating, you're feeding your neighbors. You know what? Everyone who's doing that, Citizen of the Year. Okay? Heroes come along in different forms every day. Heroes that don't want anything back. Learn one thing, and they learn to pay it forward. I've lived my life paying things forward for a long time. Marie and I, we are great friends. We love each other dearly. We may not see eye to eye on everything, but the one common thing that we have together is that we give a shit and love each other. And we don't want our friends, and Rich and I feel the same way, and I'm sure that Marie and Rich are the same, but it's a common thing that people need to understand that, and I said this the other night on the air. There are good people doing good things. There are good people doing great things, and our community is going to be greater for it if we all just learn. Just take a sliver of your greatness and please share it with somebody else, and don't expect anything in return except one thing: to pay it forward. Because I will promise you, if you can learn to pay it forward, I don't think about things When I give you something, there's no expectation. When I compliment you, there's no expectation. I don't need compliments because you know what I get? Do you know what's his name?
Blake Walker.
Blake Walker. Do you know what Blake Walker got today? He got lots of recognition from really three guys that showed up to help Joe. He saw end result of reaction, one of positive and one of negative.
Might also mention that that Blake was driving around in a fairly damaged truck. He had taken some hurricane hits. His windshield was gone. His back glass was gone. He was driving through a hole about this big in the front of his windshield, but he was still out there rescuing people.
And, you know, he didn't do that with the expectations of getting anything. I mean, you guys are bringing it to the attention, but, you know, that's not what he was out there for. And there's thousands of people in our community doing the same thing, checking on your neighbors, checking on, I mean, you know, people, and I'll sing your praises, John. I mean, people that haven't slept a good night's sleep in 5 days, out early in the morning till late at night, and still. But, you know, there's 55 people in our radio station that have never been paid a dime, but we're here for you, trying to provide some kind of, you know, either entertainment, information, insight onto things. And that's part of being a community, not worrying about getting paid for what you do, but trying to help your community. And man, there are thousands of people. I mean, I am getting teary-eyed thinking of the 70,000 people leaving their families back in Iowa and Illinois and Indiana and Pennsylvania and New York and coming down here and putting their life on the line. I mean, you hear it all the time of workers, line workers getting electrocuted, not knowing that there's alligators in these swamps and all those things that they're putting themselves into. And, you know, and I sit there and I think, man, that's what makes America the best damn place in the world, because we can get people from 15, 18, 2,000 miles away to journey down here to help somebody that needs help.
Alicia, I'm going to say something to you because I see that, and I'm going to tell you what happened to me today. And this is the God's honest truth, and it's two simple ways to theme out my day because I'm exhausted again. I woke up exhausted because I didn't sleep well. I took care of business early, and that wasn't fun because people are handling themselves in a very mysterious way. And I would like to tell people, you don't need to yell. You don't need to show your frustration. And really threats with me right now kind of go idle. Okay. And I think that people who are giving so much and caring so much, and that we're usually the quieter ones on the abrupt, hey, it's enough. I'm going to warn people right now. Our attitudes of not being the squeaky wheel getting the grease are at its limit. I think we all need to step back. If you're overly excited, if you need help, we're all here for you. If you're going at someone at day 5 after a cat, I keep calling it cat 5 because
it is a cat 5.
It was a cat 5 in my estimation.
If you're going at somebody right now at a cat 5 on day 5, I want you to think about something for a minute. If you think your day is bad, seriously, if you think your day is bad, go to Captiva Sandbar because it's no longer an island. If that doesn't wake your crap up, nothing will. Nothing will. If you have a home and there's water in it, be another superhero like Joe. Show you're upset. Show that you're not happy. understand that the value that you have on being on this side of the earth has great meaning. I jumped on my bike and I haven't wanted to ride my motorcycle because of the debris. Alicia brought up a good point, and it happened to me this morning. And I kind of promised myself I would do it 2 or 3 more times today. And yet I didn't get home until late. But my mental status of a rough morning changed when I got on my motorcycle and I went around our circle here in it what I call now Magnolia Command Center. Okay. It's no longer our home. It's our command center, because I leave, I call her, she fixes food. She's serving people in our neighborhood. My wife hasn't been out of the house to see anything other than the kitchen, doing laundry, cooking food, serving people. And she doesn't want to see it. She doesn't want to see it. Okay. Think about the status of people who are closed in. They're doing. We're not the only volunteers. We have great services. And I think that's what makes me angry the most, is that when people think that no one is there, I think you're aiding to the mental health of the people who have the most fear of not being heard. Mental health patients aren't heard. They disappear. And if you don't think that your average person who's lost everything, who may have lost a loved one within that, may have lost all their paperwork, all their pictures, every single piece of what their family meant to them, and you want to start pointing fingers and add more angst on top of their mental status, shame on you. It's time that we stop. If we don't learn to settle down, and we don't learn that the people around us are why we are all here, and that we should learn our neighbors, and we should learn who they are, and we should understand that even if your neighbor didn't treat you so bad, I got one. Didn't happen. Didn't see eye to eye. I've fed her now 3 days in a row. And the only thing she says to me now is what a great guy I am. If you can't imagine rebuilding a relationship with your neighborhood, start today. Because today's a new day. And after a traumatic event like this, people can rebuild friendships. People can rebuild their life. But if you're not positive with them, and you're not encouraging them, and you're chopping at their tree, I'm just tired of watching people fall down, and us celebrating. I guess I'm celebrating because I can't take it any other way. If you're not encouraging somebody to grow and grow up, what are you encouraging them to do? And I'm tired. I got to go eat, and I don't want to get in this space before I go to bed. But I care about my town. I care about the station. I care about Marie. I care about Rich. I got my brother-in-law next to me. He has watched me all day on the emotion side, on the energy side. And I'll say this. I went to bed last night tired. I woke up tired. I went through my morning. I rode the bike. And just a little while ago, I told him when we did a positive thing, what happened?
You said you felt jazzed.
I felt jazzed. Okay. What did you say we were high on?
We were high on the fact that we had just helped that gentleman not be taken advantage of.
And So
We've done a good job.
My energy level was up. And what did you say we were like? Us.
We're heroes.
We're heroes.
Yes.
What did you say our energy was like combined? We feed off the same thing. We feed off the same thing.
Helping other people and knowing that we've done a good job.
That's right. So we're not superheroes. Everybody who's helping is a superhero. Everybody is Rich is a superhero. Marie is a superhero because she was doing things behind the scene, helping me be on the air. She does that all the time. What we have to remember is that no matter how bad it gets, if you just learn to give a hand out and a hand up, everyone can survive it.
Yep.
Yeah. And Alicia, he was agreeing with you because I see your comment down there.
Right.
Yeah, 100%. And when you're talking about that, that's one thing that Charlie did. And now again with Ian, I am meeting my neighbors. I didn't know my neighbors. I don't know my neighbors, yet I have people come over and we have a grill that we can do a lot of things on, more so than other people with grills. And I've been cooking, and if anybody knows me, I hate the kitchen. I don't like to cook, but I've been cooking up people's food and our food and handing it out to as many people as we could give it or that would take it from Marie. Anyhow, John, what you're
If I
doing.
could just interject a couple of things because I don't know how many people are going to continue on, but I think we need to give them a bit of useful information as far as things that that are happening. And my expertise is in tax and accounting, and I will just let everyone listening know. And if you would let people know, this would be helpful. October the 17th was a tax deadline. So if you filed your taxes and filed an extension back in April, so it was April 17th, you had a 6-month extension. That would have been October 17th. They have extended that. You do not have to worry about paying. I mean, not paying. Now, you should always pay on time because they will, but you don't have to worry about filing until February 15th.
Really?
So because of Florida are you leaving?
I got to go eat. I haven't eaten yet. I haven't eaten dinner.
Okay. Well, go eat.
Go eat.
Thank you so much, John.
I haven't eaten since 1 o'clock.
Okay.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. So February 15th is now the new deadline for for personal. So please understand that. Also, if you go in there, if you're a business owner, and the government isn't going to play on paying. So please pay if you know what you owe, whether it is excise taxes, whether it is income taxes, or whether it is payroll taxes. Pay them, but you don't need to worry about filing. So a lot of times you can get your accountant to say, well, this is how much you owe, but I haven't done the report yet. Okay. And it's a little bit more difficult to do that. So the IRS is coming through and saying you have until February 15th for people in Florida. Now, they have not extended it for people in North and South Carolina yet. I'm not saying that they won't, but they haven't. So if you're listening to us and you're in the state of Florida, then you have that extension. Also, just for local people, and again, if you have children, you need to know that Charlotte County and Sarasota County schools are closed indefinitely. So it's not like it's going to open up Monday. They haven't announced that. Right now, they're saying Sarasota County and Charlotte County schools are closed indefinitely. A lot of people staying in shelters. And we have a lot of people that need shelters. And you might not have the kids back in school until end of October. I don't know. I'm not saying that's how it'll be, but I'm just saying you will be notified by your schools, by your county, if and when they resume schools. That should tell anybody listening outside of our area how bad this really is. I had somebody saying today on Facebook, well, why didn't they buy flood insurance? Listen, I live in a zone E. That's where they put shelters. And there are people now, luckily I did not, but there are people in zone E's in Northport that flooded. Never in the history of Northport have they flooded. So unfortunately, it's not always something you figure, well, if they're going to put people in a shelter in a zone E, there's a good chance it's not going to flood. But a zone E's did flood. And so just be careful whenever you start poking the bear. People are upset. And Marie, if you've got any information on locations where people can get FEMA help or anything like that, let's talk about that now.
Okay, well, I am going to bring up on the screen right here how you get FEMA help. And like I was saying earlier, RJ Malloy, our station manager, is helping people fill out the form and getting through that process, because there's a lot of older people that don't have computer access or they don't know what to do, Rich. And
right.
That really happens. If you look on the screen here, and for those of you listening at home on whatever device that you can possibly listen to, your phone, online, you can go disasterassistance.gov. Again, disasterassistance.gov. You can download the FEMA app. Also, you can write this number down, 1-800-621-FEMA, which number is 3362. Again, 1-800-621-3362. And you can watch on YouTube. If you go to YouTube, FEMA does have the process up there that you can actually view it. And lucky you that you can get onto YouTube if you have the device that will allow you to go on there, if you have any kind of internet access. Now, I know Charlotte's Sports Park here in Charlotte County is handing out ice and MREs.
MREs, meals ready to eat. And let me tell you, I've got secondhand knowledge. A good buddy of mine went there. Now, yesterday they had a food truck there, and they were giving out like barbecue and stuff like that. They'll give you water, they will give you ice, and they will give you MREs. Now, you can ask for, hey, I'm in my neighborhood, and I'm trying to serve 5 different families, and they'll give you enough supplies because they understand. Not everybody can get out. And that's what I want to reiterate also. As many people as are still trapped and still not have the ability to get out, if you can help those people, I mean, if you have that monster truck and you can get out there to these people and deliver water, and because, again, most people in Northport don't have water. Most people in Northport, or a lot of people in Northport, still don't have electricity. So they don't have internet. That was a problem a long time ago. I sure hope, this is for a conversation for a different day. I sure hope maybe having such bad infrastructure is going to be reevaluated in Northport because of this storm. Our roadways, it's very substandard when it comes to, the danger in all these little canals we have. And, Price Boulevard, if people listening from our general area, I don't know if you know this, Marie, Price Boulevard is shut down. It literally got cut in half at a couple of different places. And so, knowing that 41 and Price Boulevard are 2 of the only east-west thoroughfares in the entire city, and Northport is a east-west city, 104 square miles, but probably stretched, 20, 25 miles from end to end, east to west. That's devastating. That's going to be long-term effects. I hope that they basically got Chamberlain, they've got Cranberry, and they got Salford that will go from the interstate all the way through to 41. So they did save those thoroughfares. But those are north-south. So if you need to go, I don't know if you're familiar, and people that live in Northport are very familiar, taking your kid to schools. Typically, there's Lamarck Elementary, and that's going to serve a lot of that Price Boulevard area. You've got the high school down on Price, but beyond Sumter, and you have a couple of other middle schools and a elementary school down there. And if you're on my side, like at Chamberlain, what used to take you 15 or 20 minutes with traffic to get there might be an hour now, because everyone that's going to be going there is going to go on one route, and that is the US 41.
Gail West told me that today, because her daughter, where she has to go for work, it takes her an hour to get there now, because it only took 50 minutes because of where they live. And she said 2 bridges got washed out.
Right. I mean, completely gone. Yeah. Now, I'm pretty sure Corps of Engineers, somebody's going to come in and put a patchwork there, but that's not going to be a long-term effect. That's going to be until they can kind of decide, hey, are we going to get money that we could kind of widen and improve at the same time? That's kind of a conversation that we've had in this city for, 20 years. And it's going to have to be done something to. But, now with 75 shut down, I'm pretty sure they're going to try to look at a way to get around 75. When 75 was shut down on Friday night and Saturday, they literally had one way to get through Northport, and they sent entire 75 traffic down US 41. Now, after having just told you that the only other east-west thoroughfare in Northport was on US 41, you put what could probably handle Northport traffic, you put 10 times that amount of traffic on US 41. And it just caused mass confusion. They're going to have to change these situations. I mean, this was never meant to be this kind of a situation. And I don't blame anyone. It's easy in government to kind of kick the can down the road, because all of these are very expensive options, right? And so widening a 2-lane road to a 5-lane road is not something that you just say, okay, well, I'll write the check. I mean, these are bond referendum things, and a lot of politicians hate that kind of thing, raising taxes and bond referendums and things like that. So our past officials in this city and county have basically just kicked this down the road. Well, guess what? That can just became a 3,000-pound obstacle that you can't kick anymore. And they're stubbing their toes on it. And it's going to be a toe stubber for a while in Northport. And I just want people listening. Those are frustrations you're going to feel for the next year. But once they get it all done, Northport's going to be bigger, better, badder than it's ever been in the history of this Southwest Florida. So stick with it. The red lights are still malfunctioning in some areas. Oh, thank you so much, Shannon. Please, there is no electricity in a lot of parts. And in some areas, stop signs were knocked down or flooded or whatever. People ran over them because they couldn't see them. You're going to come up in different intersections with no indication. Do I stop or do I slow down? Who's got the right of way? Every single intersection you come to should be treated like a 4-way stop. We have major intersections where people are just assuming because I'm on US 41, I got the right of way. Well, let me tell you something. US 41 and Sumter intersect. And those people on Sumter think they got the right of way. and you could literally cause death and mayhem by just not acting responsible. So if you're coming up on a intersection, I don't care if it's a 4-way stop, a 2-way stop, or you're used to seeing no signs there whatsoever, slow down and verify that nobody's going to be coming through in 50 miles an hour. I mean, there's some crazy things going on here, Marie. It's I mean, and I say here, I'm 800 miles away.
Right, exactly. And Sheriff Bill Pramell and from Charlotte County posted on the sheriff's website for people to pause and think before they take it out on their significant other or loved ones, and that they're seeing a rise in domestic abuse and things like that. We are all frustrated. And if you have something like that happening, that you're getting so angry and you want to use your spouse as a punching bag, take a breath, go for a walk away from the situation and come back. Nobody should ever be, and I saw this happen during Charlie too, but when you get so stressed, Rich, that you lash out, and you lash out at the people that you love the most, because they usually don't walk away from you. No, if you're using them in that respect, hopefully they don't stay and take it, but that becomes a cycle too. And that's one of the things that is due to mental health comes into play there, and the frustration. And I don't think I've heard anybody really talking about this. People have lost their income. They can't go to work right now because there's no jobs there. Well, they're frustrated because they don't have money to pay their bills. They don't have money to actually feed their family. I know Awaken Church is, their food bank is up and running now, I believe, again tomorrow. So in case any of you are out there and need to have food, reach out. We have a lot of food people that are losing food in their fridge and freezers and that. And that's what we were doing at our home, is we were taking anybody's food and cooking it up and distributing it to people, because we had the ability to do it, even though we were using a grill. I learned I should actually grab it because I brought it with. I baked bread on my grill, and it came out good because I was able to put it on what it was supposed to be, regulate the burners, and then used it on top of a griddle, and it baked up that we could do that. And Rich, were you a Boy Scout?
I was.
Okay, and I was a Girl Scout. I learned how to camp. And so I learned some of these techniques when I was young, and some of them kicked in, how to do these different things, even to cook with a lean-to with the sun, and that, not that anybody has to do that right now, but there are different ways to survive. And if you want to walk in somebody's shoe and find out what it's like to be homeless, this is it right now, because there's a lot of people out there displaced not because of any of their own doing. They're homeless.
I wanted to say a couple of things that came out tonight, or actually this afternoon. We have seen in the last few years just an explosion of drones, right? And almost a lot of what we're typically seeing is aerial photography is no longer a helicopter. It's probably a drone. Well, in this situation, and I'm begging people, because again, there are people's lives. Believe it or not, the death toll rose to above 100 tonight, because they're still going in. At first it was rescue. And if they happen to, somebody didn't answer the door, a lot of times rescuers were not going in and trying to look for bodies or look for anything. They were trying to rescue people. Okay, so anyway, and a lot of places, early on it was Sanibel Island, Captiva Island, Little Pine Island, Matlacha, those kinds of places that can't be reached by car or truck. So they were bringing in helicopters. Well, now it's Northport, and Arcadia, where these helicopters are having to go. But guess what? They're getting entangled. They're having issues with people flying drones because they're not very easy to see, but yet a drone could cause the crash of a helicopter in like that quick. So they're actually had announced, as long as people are continuing to fly them, and most of the time they're flying them illegally. As long as people are continuing to fly them, they could postpone rescue operations. So please, I understand. I mean, now it's quite helpful for certain industries like the roofing industry. I mean, that's one of the things that people have needed the most. And a lot of times roofers have been able to utilize drones to just go in. But a lot of times now they're just looking at neighborhoods. So they're flying up at 2,000 or 3,000 feet. Well, that's exactly the height of a lot of helicopters flying in to rescue people as they travel, right? So please, if you're going to use your drone, no more than 50 feet. And then they even said, stop it around areas that need to be rescued. I understand people want their stuff fixed. They want to see the damage of their house. So they're getting people to go in with drones. And I understand that John's brother is doing that. He's out there with them. He's part of the media. He's asking permission. Is it okay to do that? I'm talking about people that are just flying to fly because they know a buddy that's got a drone, and they're going to say, well, can you send it over here to this house and my house and my neighbor's house and see if it's damaged or whatever? Please stop doing that. Right now, it's still more important to get people rescued. I hate to be so dramatic about that, but I'm sorry if people are losing hope and can't get rescued because a bunch of knuckleheads are flying drones where they shouldn't be. It just ticks me off a little bit. Also, if I can say one more thing,
you can.
They said residents who want, and not only residents, if you're listening to us on kdwradio.com, you can be listening to us anywhere in the world, right? And we sure would appreciate you donating, but be careful who you're donating to. And I will give you some people. This is from the city of Northport. So if you want your money to actually go to a local people in need, and I'm not bad mouthing Red Cross. Red Cross takes the money in and kind of uses it where they need to use it. And it could be down in, Puerto Rico more than here, right? Puerto Rico got devastated too. So if you donate, they're taking donations for Florida victims. Doesn't mean Florida victims are going to get the money, but the next couple that I tell you will. So if you want to donate to the United Way of South Sarasota County, is now accepting monetary donations that will be distributed in Northport, not in Tampa. It is South Sarasota County, and I'm pretty sure. Now, again, I do apologize. I don't have this information for Charlotte County.
I do. I do.
Okay. And then Gulf Coast Community Foundation that Miss Marie LaBrosse knows a lot about.
The different ones, yes.
Yeah. And the Community Foundation of Sarasota County. Both of them. Marie, if you don't know, Marie is kind of like the person that takes care of all the funding opportunities for our radio station. We're a 501c3, right? And so she's working closely with these people, and she knows the money goes and stays here. So if you're listening from Iowa, or you're listening from Hawaii, or you're listening from Timbuktu, where's Timbuktu, by the way?
It's actually in the Far East, but there you have it. Or is it in Africa? No.
I guess I should say it before I say that. So Bombay, Mumbai, is it Mumbai, India. You can go to UWSSC Okay, uwssc.org. You can go to gulfcoastcf.org, or you can go to cfsarasota.org. And I don't know if that's something we can put on here, or we'll try to put it on the kdwradio.com site. Because that money is going to go to these people here. It's not going to go to fire victims in Kalamazoo, Michigan, or whatever. It's going to stay here in this community. And hopefully you can find it in yourself to donate some money, because listen, as Marie said, there are people that have lost their jobs. There's people that, lost their houses. They've lost their businesses. They've lost everything. This was a devastating natural disaster.
Yeah, absolutely. And in Charlotte County, there is an organization called coedfl.org. And actually, before I bring that up, I'm going to talk to you guys about a few different things that Rich was talking about. And one of them is, and this was actually yesterday, they had rescued over 1,600 people, and there are more than 1,000 team members performing search and rescue. And it's made of different people there. But this is where Florida Division of Emergency Management has their places set up. And Rich, Sarasota County, the Hyundai of Venice on Jacaranda Boulevard, Englewood Center Plaza on South Indiana Avenue, Englewood, Twin Lakes Park in Sarasota, Florida, off of Clark Road, the Venice Community Center on Nokomis Avenue, Venice, Florida, the San Pedro Catholic Church in Northport. And I drove by that the other day and I said, oh, look at their distributing things. Sarasota County Croquet Club on Lucaya Avenue in Venice, and in Hardy County, Bergen Farms in Wauchula, DeSoto County Department of Emergency Management, Northeast Roan Street, Arcadia, Nocatee Elementary School at Southwest Shores, Arcadia, Save a Lot in Arcadia on Oak Street, Highlands County, the Save a Lot there in Lake Placid, Florida, South Florida State College on College Drive, Avon Park, Florida, and the Florida Department of Health in Highlands County in Sebring. Lee County, I'm going to skip over because I don't think that that we have that many listeners from there. Charlotte County, the Muscle Card City, which used to be the old cash and carry way down on Tamiami Trail in Punta Gorda. The Charlotte Sports Park, which is Elgin Bean Road, which is State Road 776 in Port Charlotte, and the Ann Deaver Memorial Regional Park on San Casa Drive in Englewood, and then the other ones are down in Collier.
Can I and I'll just interject, and I don't know that it's official, but I do know they have things there, and it's basically just an extension of all of these. Is also the Port Charlotte Kia. And it's typically more thought of as a Northport business. It's right on 41, which is, again, as I say before, the only east-west thoroughfare in the entire city. But it runs from, Michigan down to Florida. So, it's going to run, but it runs all the way through Northport and into Port Charlotte and all the way through Port Charlotte. And the Northport Kia, it has been established as a place that you can go and get supplies. And I'll also tell you, the sports park that I was mentioning, that you mentioned and I mentioned before, I guess right across the street from the Charlotte Sports Park, my friend was there yesterday. He said he saw probably 24 tractor trailers full of supplies that are then every time they need one, they come and bring it over to Charlotte Sports Park. So it's not like they don't have stuff for you. And if you can't get out, let people know and see if maybe somebody can go in there, because I do know also my friend his house was in, I don't know the name of the little thing, but right there at Coliseum, which is at McCall and Gasparilla. And he made it known that, hey, listen, we've got probably 10 people that need this stuff. Can you give us more? And they gave it to him and said, distribute it to your neighbors. And so, hey, they understand that a lot of people can't get out right now. And if you're able to, maybe you're part of the Cajun Army or Cajun Navy or whatever it is.
Isn't that the coolest thing? Yeah, there's two of them, two different kinds out there.
Well, we're going to have to try to get a Florida version of the Cajun Army or Navy, and because, oh my gosh, they go anywhere that there's a water hurricane.
Well, there's a redneck Navy too out there that has been going around. I want to also mention to people that in Charlotte County, it's coadfl.org, and this is from their website, but they're the ones that helped during COVID. Angela Hogan, Denise Dahl, and all of those staff there are doing a great job. And they're here to help Charlotte County residents during times of hardship. And I know during COVID, they were handing out checks to people that needed help with utilities and rent and all the different things. But as you can see here, they've added more places here to register and receive an assignment with an agency that needs assistance. You should go to 227 Sullivan Street, Punta Gorda, to the VRC. Now, the VRC, oh man, okay. VRC, I was part of the VRC, it's the Volunteer Reception Center. And when Wayne Saladay was here, I was actually part of the team that actually ran this thing. And what our job was when disasters like this happen, you get so many volunteers coming into your community, and we were the clearinghouse for those volunteers to make sure that the people were vetted, that they were legitimate people, that they weren't going to rip off people, or they were here and we don't have different people that may take advantage of people. You know, they were here to do good. And then also there's a system that they put in place, and you get braceleted with a bracelet on and sent out to help people in different areas. We would have a list of places for them to go. So for more information about volunteers or donations, you can call the Charlotte County Volunteer Donation Hotline, which is, and that's because some of their lines have been down. It's a 910-973-3916. Again, for Charlotte County volunteers and donations, the hotline is 910-973-3916. And again, they have shelters available out at the Babcock School Field House. Now, the problem is, how are you going to get there? So in case anybody needs to get out there, I would give the COADFL .org holler and see how you could get help to get out there, because it's a distance. It's 30 some miles, I think, out there. Isn't it, Rich?
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So just wanted to kind of give some people and a little bit of a tip, I guess I should say. You know, a lot of people probably have damage of some sort. Maybe it's trees down, maybe it's just debris. And, you know, I will say that on, I want to say Wednesday, let me check that, because the city announced that they're going to maintain, or actually not maintain, but they're going to start back in Northport. I'm trying my best to find out, because okay, Power and Light, Governor, that was Sunday. Okay, well, in a couple of days, and I'll try to find it as we talk, the city is going to start doing garbage pickup again. I mean, like normal, right? And so I do know that the governor has told a lot of people, and especially municipalities, that they are going to reimburse, the federal government will reimburse 100% of all debris removal for the first 30 days. Okay, so we're 5 days in, so they have about 25 days left. And so they are wanting you guys to put all your stuff out there. Why? Because after 30 days, they don't get 100%. Now, they're not guaranteed they're going to get any percent, but they might just extend it for like 50% reimbursement. So the city's really looking to try to get this done quick. Okay, now why am I bringing this up? Because they're asking you guys to go and pick up all your debris, and you have to put it in about 15 different categories, but they want them in piles that their people can come and pick up easily. We are expecting temperatures to be about mid 80s for the next 4 or 5 days. So between now and Friday, 83, 85, 84, 85. Luckily, the night times are going to cool down to 63 on Tuesday, 65, 64, 65. So nights will cool off, but the days are still kind of warm. Luckily, it's not 100 degrees, right? So when you're out there working, you need to make sure you're staying hydrated and staying cool as much as possible. You do not need to get a heat stroke by doing this. Now, the city's going to want you to get it done as quick as possible. You don't need to kill yourself just to please the city. Now, I want the city to be cleaned up too. But again, I think you mentioned, Marie, that there's actually places that you can call and get free help for debris removal and tarps and those kinds of things. Do you remember that, right? Okay.
Yeah, right.
There it is. Say Johnny Gene on the spot. I asked for it and it's there. Wow.
It's there all of a sudden.
I might write that down too.
It's 1-800-451-1954 for free disaster cleanup assistance for help with tree removal, tarping roofs, and debris removal. And if that's that number, if you need something else, they should be able to help you there. And also, you can dial 211 in Sarasota County or in Charlotte County, and it is staffed by probably the Volunteer Reception Center people, because we have been trained in 211 help out there. That was right. One of those things. And the real funny thing about it, Rich, is we have been training for Volunteer Reception Center for years, and we were never called up because we didn't have a hurricane strike, and then or a disaster happened, and now you have one. And the people that I was working with before, I'm actually going to give them a holler and say, if you want me to come in and help, because I've gone through all the training and I was their outreach person within the community. I mean, go figure.
Well, see, and that's why we love you, because you do a lot of that kind of thing. If you're not familiar with, I think you were the impetus behind and the Charlotte Players and the all sorts of different fundraising. You basically took kdwradio.com to where it's actually funding it's able to maintain. We were struggling there for many years until Marie said, somebody's got to do it. Nobody else wants to.
Well, and I have the knowledge. I have some background. And we were going to have a fundraiser because our tower got hit by lightning, and we were having a fundraiser October 8th, thanks to the Military Heritage Museum to actually being helping us with it. And we have put it on permanent right now, postponement until we can assess when to do it, and to do it at the right time, because people need to give to people. And they don't understand when you're a community radio station. We're not iHeartMedia. None of us get paid, and we depend on, and we can't do advertisement like them. If you notice, you don't hear us being interrupted or that we have to take a station break because of advertising, because legally we're not supposed to do any of that.
But could they? I'm just going to ask you, because this is the first time that Marie's allowed me anywhere close to StreamYard. So,
there is a reason about that.
I've always been told I got a voice for radio, but a face for newspapers.
Oh, yeah, me too. Me too.
So could up here where you see this great little diagram up here of the storm, is it possible to have like a sponsor's name up there?
In all reality, I would have to look at the legal part of that.
Right.
I do, when you're doing within your show, and this is just for the audience and Rich's sake, when you're doing within your show, you can talk, you can have guests on that have businesses and you can talk about the business. But what you can't do when you're doing, we can't have like, the sponsor of this show is so-and-so. And you can't say that they're having a sale this week. We can't say that they're having a promo going on or anything. We can't promote it like that, where iHeartMedia or any of the other medias can do that because they're for profit. We're a nonprofit, and I know I don't want to even bore people out there with this, but there's reasons why we can do what we do. And freedom of speech, Rich, you and I don't agree on some things, like a lot, but hello.
I still love you.
Yeah, and the same thing, and we can agree to disagree because we have, most people have a different background, and they have different opinions and how we've been raised, but it's okay. And that's what community radio is, to give everybody a voice, not just one opinion or one person.
Absolutely. I mean, you know, I get on my show and sometimes I rail against people that don't think the same way I do. But I'll be the first to admit, you know, I think you have the absolute right to say it and believe it. And I don't think you're a bad person because you think that way. I would love to change your opinion on a lot of things, but guess what? And in our radio station, you're not going to find too many places like that. You're not going to find it in Fox News, or you're not going to find it on ABC News or anything else. Is the diversity of thought at this radio station. I mean, we have some people that are probably that close to anarchy, and we got this people that are that close to communism, but they talk and they speak and they respect each other. And I mean, that's what I love about KDWradio.com, WKDW 97.5 FM, and our Citizens Community Broadband Radio Association. Oops, I better get that right.
Yeah, because when we first started out, just to give everybody a history lesson, we started out as broadband, and we're still going broadband even with the FM down right now, and we didn't go FM till 2016. Right. So we're still infants, but in fact, we do Giving Tuesday. We're the lead for Giving Tuesday here, and I could have been up at the Giving Tuesday mini conference that they had in Charlotte, North Carolina, because I was invited. They were going to pay for me to come to it. And I said, no, I was trying to get somebody to take it over. And then anyhow, that's a whole nother story.
Right.
The thing what am I trying? Oh, we were the only radio station in the world that were doing what we were doing for Giving Tuesday, where we gave everybody a voice and we would bring them on and do interviews and let them talk about their organization. And, you know, because I'm able to do what we do here, we were recognized. And I think there's one radio station that does it out of Texas now, but they only do like maybe an hour or two. We go from, as long as I can handle it, 10 o'clock in the morning till 6 or 8 at night. And you find that you lose, actually we're at the loss of people right now because we're over the time that they stay up. But we're worldwide. And it's really interesting because Giving Tuesday National will come on with us too. And right. we can get different people here. You know, just because we're a little radio station, Rich, doesn't mean that people don't know who we are.
Oh, I know. We are one of either number one or number two in the country. Now, I can't say the world, but in the country that has this amount of original programming. Yeah. I mean, nowadays, you know, you have so much syndicated stuff. we have what, 54, 55, something like that, originally programmed shows at our radio station per week.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's amazing the number of shows that are, and every one of them is a volunteer.
Yeah.
Not one person gets
And
paid.
how many shows do you do per week? 3.
I do 3 shows. I mean, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. John takes Monday and Friday.
Yeah, and I was teching his shows for the longest time until I ended up getting ill, and then he learned how to do it himself. But I come and try to help him out, because he has some really interesting guests. Not that you don't, and I do too. My shows. In fact, I have anyhow.
Guess who my guest is tomorrow? And maybe if you can help me, I sure would appreciate it.
Okay,
Wayne Saladay.
Oh, you're going to have Wayne on. Wayne did this with us last week.
Yes.
So, we can actually live. We can take them live like this.
Right. And I told him, I said, you need to get on face to face because people know your face and they love Wayne. If you don't know who Wayne is, 35 years or more in the emergency operations field and 30 years as the director of Charlotte County. I mean, he's got about 30,000 people that follow him on Facebook, and he is just Johnny on the spot with knowledge because he was the dude that was kind of running this for Charlotte County during Charlie.
Oh, yeah.
And then he had, all these other storms that kind of skirted, but I mean, he got a direct smack dab in the face hit with Charlie. I mean, it did not reach much out of Charlotte County until it got over to DeSoto. So.
Did you know what I did during Charlie? You may not know this, and I don't think we have. Oh, we have one person that's showing up watching. Anyhow, during Charlie, did you know what I was?
What?
I was a super precinct clerk because when we had Charlie hit, we were in the middle of primary season.
Oh,
and we had the elections coming up, and Judy Anderson was the supervisor of election. I was one of her precinct clerks, and a lot of the precincts have been destroyed, the buildings. So they took 11, I think it was 11 precincts, and put them all over where the Boys and Girls Club is now, but they put them in our building next to that, at the church next to that. I think it was the First Lutheran Church.
Right.
Anyhow, and they assigned 2 of us people to be over all the precincts. The clerks were still there, but we were over everybody. We had to make sure everything ran right, and then we took everybody's ballot boxes to the center, the supervisor of elections. But that was actually a really interesting thing because people had to come to this one building, those 11 precincts, to vote during that time during the primary. So I got to actually, I was able to meet a lot of the people I would have never normally met unless you went to some of the training with them. And knowing how that election went, there was no chance of fraud that I could see at that time. That's why I get a little bit concerned when I hear, we were really, really strict. There was no way that was going to happen under Judy Anderson's watch. And I know that Paul Stamalis here is just as rigid as it comes to with the voting. I know in Sarasota County, you have the same thing.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, and I think Florida learned its lesson with the hanging Chad deal, right?
Oh.
And so they said, well, we can be the laughing stock of the nation, or we can get ourselves together. And I fully think that Florida is almost blameless in any kind of situation like that. I mean, I just think good people got together and said, we screwed up, and now it's the best in the nation. I dare say that we are the shining star in the election integrity deal. And so I agree with that 110%.
Yeah, I was a precinct clerk during the hanging chat. So I'm going, hanging chat for the, but if I recall correctly, in our county though, we were already electronic. We were already at that. We didn't have the chat situation here. So,
Well, and I was living up in Plant City at the time, and I had this little office. It was actually I sublet it from a state. All state insurance agent, and he had subletted another office in his building, and it was a guy that he was like 83 years old, but he had done this all his life. He had probably 7 or 8 counties. There's 67 counties in Florida. He had probably 7 or 8 counties that he did all of the voting machines, all of the printing of the ballots, and he did anything that had to do with election signage or anything, any kind of letters they had to send out or anything. He did all of that for these 7 counties. And I will tell you right now, he was as ticked off as anyone. And I mean, he was a ardent liberal, but we got along. We talked, but he got along. And he said, "This is ridiculous." He had the scanning ballot type, nothing that you would punch. And he said, "That is so old timey. They need to have some kind of standardization here in Florida." Now, I don't know that that's what happened. I know we had the scanning ballot here in Sarasota.
Yeah, and we did too. Yeah.
So, I mean, he was literally, because everybody knew him as the guy that ran elections or, supplied the different counties. He said, "Well, that I will tell you right now, Miami-Dade and Broward were not mine." So,
yeah, that's what we were saying too. We don't run like that, not at all. No. Anyhow, we were a little bit off track, but it actually says what is happening. And I know that we have the major elections coming up in November, and I know people, that's the last thing on your mind. But if it's something that you're concerned about, you can get absentee ballots, and they are, just call your supervisor of election number. If you don't have it, if Rich or any of us can, we'll end up putting them up for you to do that. Because let me tell you, they're delivering mail. My daughter let me know that we have mail delivery today.
Wow, that's good to know.
Yeah, and yesterday before we left, FedEx stopped. We're in the middle of, we don't even have electricity. We're in the middle of flood zones and different things going on. And here the mail's coming in and FedEx is running, and you're going, oh my word, they have to go through all this debris even to get to us.
Right.
So kudos to all of them.
I will tell you this. I mean, again, a lot of great communication is coming through on Facebook. Just not everything is great on Facebook. And you can believe what you don't, but this was an actual business owner that I know, and she makes soaps.
Oh,
and,
yeah. Well,
yeah,
yeah.
Jamie. Jamie.
Yeah, very well.
And they haven't got electricity at her place of business. She actually has contracts with Whole Foods and a couple of other really, now it's basically just Florida, not national, but Florida, that she supplies, but Whole Foods and a couple of other major retailer types. And she hasn't had power since obviously the hurricane. And she said, she has packages ready to ship because, they weren't destroyed. And, the soaps and the creams and all the things that she makes is ready for shipment, but they can't get UPS or USPS to come and pick it up.
Yeah.
So it's not everywhere. So luckily you count your chickens there, girl.
Yeah. that delivery is coming. Yeah, and I could not believe that FedEx dropped a package off of at our house on.
That's cool.
Yeah,
FedEx,
yesterday.
FedEx must have high wheeled and high chassis vehicles.
I don't know, they're just like no. Anyhow, we probably should go off. We've been
Yeah,
on 2 hours and 11. No, 2
15
hours
minutes.
and 14 seconds, minutes. Yeah, seconds. Yeah, right.
So, I mean, to summarize everything, basically, not every place in Northport is free to travel. There are places along 41. There's places along 776. I think Marie had them up in there that you can go and get your vital stuff: water, ice, meals ready to eat, those kinds of things that you can eat. I've still not heard of places giving tarps out, and I think tarps is a big thing. Now there might be, and I just have not heard that.
Yeah, I truthfully I don't know. I do know that you can call that 800 number, which I had up, that you can call and they'll put them up for you. What I was told though by RJ today, and we'll take that with a grain of salt, how much is there. But he said that at Twisted Fork, on 776, some FEMA reps are there, but FEMA reps, yeah, there are reps there, but they have to get the go ahead from the federal government. They're here for search and rescue, but they weren't here for some of the other things that you think FEMA is. And I think it was part of the emergency response with helping with filling out the forms and that. But that's why RJ jumped in there and started helping people, because he's a good guy, and we're all getting elderly and or
Right.
older, and he knows how hard it is on people, especially if you're stressed. If you're suffering from PTSD from all of this, if you're especially a person, if I was alone and I had to go through some of this stuff by myself, you're looking for some support. And if there's people that don't have any support down here from family.
Well, and you mentioned before, I know one person that did not make it through this storm, and a good friend of both Marie and mine. Gosh,
And I told them before we came on the show. So
yeah, I don't want to, just know that. And then we have a commissioner is actually a vice mayor, and this is something that you need to think about. Our vice mayor lost her husband, a week and a half ago.
Barbara,
Yeah, and then all of a sudden, I'm dealing with all of that.
At one time,
She went through something, and she doesn't have anybody to hold her or to cry her shoulder on or anything like that. She lost her husband right before this. Deb lost her husband during this, and before you think not having ice is a bad thing, think about what other people are going through. When you think that, oh my gosh, I'm waiting 2 hours to get gas and somebody cuts in line, be that passive forward. Okay, you must need it, but worse than I do. If you're going to do that, and don't make it worse than it is, because there's a ton of people. I mean, well over 100 people have lost their lives in Florida from this storm.
Oh, absolutely.
And they don't know that that's going to be the final figure.
And I know in Charlie, I had friends. I have one person in particular that was a friend that was a school teacher that committed suicide because she couldn't deal with the effects of what had happened at their home and everything with Charlie. I'm sorry, excuse me. But that happens when you go through disasters,
right?
The mental health.
Exactly. So last thing I'll say is if you're listening and you're still listening, or you watch this in a few minutes or whatever, before you do anything, you need really good documentation. So document the damage. take selfie photo. I mean, cell phone photos or whatever. If you are going to try repair, and just, even if it is just putting something over your roof so it doesn't leak anymore, document all of it. Take before and after photos. Keep any records or receipts that you spent money on. That is directly from insurance adjusters that I talked to today. So don't go and just say, oh, I think I can do it. You might jeopardize ever getting that into a claim. So again, simple enough. Take a couple of pictures. If you need to do it to protect family or property or whatever, go ahead and do it, but document it. Okay.
Absolutely. And thank you, everybody, for taking the time out of your precious time in this evening to listen to us, and I hope you learned a few things. And if there's any questions, whenever we're doing the streaming, you can put your comments, your questions in the comment section. We can bring it up on screen and answer it, and I can research it too in the background if I'm on with these guys, because I can do some of that. So thank you all. Have a great evening. Stay safe out there.
Yeah. God bless you.
And God bless. Thank you, everybody. Bye-bye.
Thank you.